it's been an interesting week for the Winnipeg Jets. And man, we've been talking about the trade deadline for weeks coming in. And, there was no clear spot. I mean, I think clearly the Winnipeg Jets are still a long shot for the playoffs, but they're at a point, especially when you look at what's happening around them, where nothing is for sure right now. And I think, from my perspective, that's sort of what we got yesterday. A move that was made out of opportunity, but also situation with Andrew Copp moving on. A pretty decent return coming back, but a couple interesting ads as well. I mean, your thoughts now that the trade deadline's behind us on the work of Kevin Cheveldayoff over the course of the past week?
Yeah, a couple things come to mind. I think predictable is one. I thought Kevin Cheveldayoff played his hand a little bit when he went on to TSN. Now that could have been gamesmanship. It could have been that if it was different results. I think he said exactly what he was going to do or was hoping to do and make deals. He mentioned it was quiet, on the calls. I mean, obviously there were teams that were in on Andrew Copp, but I don't think a lot of the, including Stastny, it wasn't a lot of action on him from other teams, which means he wasn't going to go out there and float it to teams and whatever. He was more than willing to have, the teams come to him. And so that was maybe his message when he was being interviewed by Sarah. I thought, another way I would sum it up, and just reaction on social media and amongst my friends and whatever, is when you try to please everybody, you end up pleasing nobody. Because I just don't think when you don't commit to a certain thing, you kind of leave everybody left wanting. And those parties obviously being one, those, the diehard fans who, and I don't even say diehard fans who just want to, don't look at the odds and go, this is crazy to think that this team's going to make it. They're willing to, pack it in on them and not hope for what they, view as a miracle. They're not happy with guys like Paul Stastny not getting shopped and getting assets for the future and maximize those, as well as kind of trying to replace the holes that Andrew Copp left, right? I mean, and they're happy about that one. We'll get into Mason Appleton and whatever the other picks, but then there's the players. You think the players are seeing this as a commitment to this year's run? Not really. I mean, they just saw Andrew Copp leave. I mean, I'm sure they get it, but they don't care about next season and the season after, not nearly as much as the GM has to. So, they're not believing that this is some kind of commitment to the future or the immediate future, the present, if you will, and a run this year. And then there's the fans that, who were hoping that you would, keep those guys and maybe be able to sign them later, and why not add more pieces or better pieces, and that group obviously would not be happy either. So I feel like it's just one of those things where he tried to please everybody, and kind of we'll see what the results are.
Yeah. The one thing I'll say, for anyone that thinks, because I mean, I think there was a lot of people, myself included, that thought it was in the best interest of the team, long term, to trade Andrew Copp. I mean, the demand was there. We saw what the market was. And to be honest, I thought that best case scenario, they'd get 2 second-round picks. So I give the general manager a very good grade on this trade, waiting it out till the end, getting 2 second-rounders, one that could potentially turn into a first-rounder if Shesterkin gets hot and they win a couple rounds. And by all accounts, a young man in Morgan Barron that can come in and, potentially be, a bottom 6 player that, brings some good skill and size to the Winnipeg Jets going forward. If people are thinking that the Jets, turned down like second rounders or something for Paul Stastny, I got news for you. I mean, that wasn't the case. 2 years ago, he was acquired for a 4th rounder. He's older now. No, he has actually having a good season, and his contract is a little bit less, but I mean, I just don't really think that there was the market. I mean, there was a reason that Paul Stastny, even with his expiring contract, when you looked at the TSN trade bait board and all these other boards, often wasn't even on them, or if he was on, it was like when they were struggling to get their full list of 60 and they were putting him down at 49 or 50. He just wasn't a guy that there was a huge market for. And when you look at what he's doing right now for the Jets, Jeff, I mean, he's been playing with Scheifele and Wheeler. He's been very productive. And tonight, when they really do need him, who's playing in the middle of that third line with the 2 newcomers? It's Paul Stastny. So to me, I mean, unless there was an offer that was absolutely going to blow the Jets out of the water, even in the short term, but Paul Stastny's not here beyond this season. And from the sounds of Dave Lowry today, that is a possibility. I think it still made sense to not completely throw in the towel and do this, because frankly, I don't think the return would have made sense considering what the market was for a player like Paul right now.
Well, if you want to take Kevin Cheveldayoff by his word, I mean, he said yesterday that they didn't get any calls really on Paul Stastny. Maybe a couple teams kicking tires, and even that would have been, I think, overplaying it. But like I said earlier, there was no action by him as a GM to go out there and say, "Hey, this guy's for sale. You know, what do you want?" In fact, Kevin Cheveldayoff said that he even kind of hinted that, or even he outright said that teams knew that we're kind of still in it. Like, that's our attitude, that we're not they didn't declare themselves as sellers. And so I think there's a little bit of an understanding code, if you will, amongst general managers that if you're a seller, you want to let teams know that you're a seller, to come to us. You want to attract as many people as you want. And the fact of the matter is the Jets weren't sellers. They didn't view themselves as sellers. Now, me saying that does not suggest that I'm saying they shouldn't have sold or shouldn't have got assets, but the Jets, the management, the players, they didn't want to view themselves as sellers. They still see, as slim as the odds may be, a chance to get in there. And so I don't think there was a willingness. And I think there would have been more of an understanding amongst fans, because of what, as you mentioned, Stastny got a fourth rounder a couple of years ago. Anyone who thinks that he would have got much better than that, sorry to tell you, but that isn't the case and wouldn't have been the case. So, the other thing is, I mean, people say, well, someone else can go play with the top line. Like, you can replace them or give other guys opportunities. Well, yeah, I guess so. But Paul Stastny, if you're looking to make a cup run here, you need Paul Stastny and what he provides on the ice, and you particularly need what he provides off the ice.
Big time.
Because he is the guy that is the in between the veteran players and the young guys. He's the one who, has that, and Andrew Copp was a leader for sure, but we all know what he was fetching. So, but Paul Stastny is undoubtedly one of the leaders in that room. And more importantly, one of the more calming presences to, again, be that bridge between the veterans and younger players. And so to me, it as much as I would have totally understood, and it probably would have been, maybe when you look at the odds, the most prudent thing to do would have been to, ditch him for a fourth or whatever you could get. But I don't necessarily look at the decision to keep him as all that big of a loss, if you will.
The move that I liked the most that Cheveldayoff did was getting Mason Appleton back. And I'll be honest, I was blown away that he was able to do that for a fourth round pick, especially considering that, he is an RFA. He's making $900,000 this year. I mean, yeah, he'll be in for a raise, but he doesn't have the numbers that are going to, triple his salary or anything like that. And, we've talked a lot this year, Jeff, about the bottom six not coming through. Vesalainen did basically nothing in 51 games. He's back with the Moose right now. They're taking a look at some other players, but to get Appleton back, a player that's proven can play with Adam Lowry, knowing that Andrew Copp was going to be gone. I mean, I thought that was an A move. And I was quite interested when we saw Zach Sanford coming here. I mean, this is a guy with a $2 million salary. He is an unrestricted free agent at the end of the year. The cost was very low. It was only a fifth rounder. So I would say the risk is worth the reward. But just your thoughts on those two ads and the situation for Sanford coming in, on his third team in recent, we played for 4 seasons with St. Louis. We saw a lot of him there. Played in Ottawa, and now he comes here. I mean, I kind of think that this could be similar to the last time the Jets picked up a guy at the deadline from the Ottawa Senators, which was Dylan DeMello, who came in, kind of realized there was a good opportunity for him and ended up sticking around.
Yeah, maybe. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if he's the deadline pickup that you're bragging about. If you're looking to go on a run here, and the Jets are looking to go on a run or have to go on a run. You know what? Funny story about Mason Appleton. So being the only scribe on the road in Chicago, it was a very interesting scene after the game. The press conferences wrap up. We're done asking questions, and in walks Andrew Copp to talk to a PR guy, Scott Brown, and he's just got this concerning look on him. And I'm watching this whole thing go down. I'm like, is he traded? Is this, whatever? But you can tell he's talking about somebody else. And, I don't know if I heard correctly, but savvy move by Scott. I think he said, something like nice goal or something, or that's what they're talking about, the goal or something, to throw me off the sniff. But it was funny to hear Mason Appleton say that he got the heads up from Andrew Copp, because I must have whatever it is, one of Copp's friends or what connections he has with Seattle or whatever it might be, whatever he knew, I felt like I saw him, I saw that reaction from him. So anyway, and then obviously credit to Jay Bell, who had it kind of, said first mentioned the deal, and then Elliot Friedman came in and said what it was, looking to be, and then Drager put the stamp on it and said what it was. But, I thought that, it's a good pickup. It's not, I mean, he's not Andrew Copp, so it's not an improvement, but it's certainly better than, what they had. Like you mentioned, Kristen Vesalainen's come in and not really been able to establish his game here, and that's why he's back with the Moose for this run. That's exactly why he's back with the Moose. Dave Lowry mentioned, he needs to get that confidence back up. So in that respect, if, it does help. It doesn't improve the Winnipeg Jets with the loss of Copp, but, and then, yeah, maybe the Jets need a little bit of a, they're going to be fighting and clawing for everything. So, Zach Sanford's the kind of guy who adds a little bit of physicality and muscle, and if he can, I don't think they're going to be relying much on him for offense. Just same story with Mason Appleton, but they play a harder checking game. Maybe that's a solid checking line. I don't think it's going to, again, the loss of an Andrew Copp on that line, I don't think you're going to just expect that one to be, guy out, guy in success here. But, maybe we'll see what happens. Down in these last 19 games. But I mean, okay pickups overall. I think you did accomplish. I think you limited the damage, but at the end of the day, you do have some future picks, but I think you took a few dents for sure presently.
Yeah, I think getting back, the picks that they did for Andrew Copp, while those are not going to immediately turn into help over the next couple seasons, I think it was important to restock those cupboards, considering what they gave up last offseason in acquiring Brendan Dillon, which I believe was the 2 seconds, the third rounder for Nate Schmidt. So, I mean, you get those 2 picks, and listen, every Jet fan is going to be all in on Trouba and Copp in the playoffs to see if they can win a couple rounds and maybe turn that into a first rounder. A lot of
Rangers fans in this neck of the woods now.
Absolutely. As far as the defense goes, I mean, we had talked about this, and I'd speculated that, at some point, I do think before they drop the puck on next season, one of the top 5 of the Jet blue line is going to, be moving. I think they need to, move their distribution of their cap expenditures a little bit more from the blue line to the forward group. And it goes without saying, you want to open up a spot or two for some younger players to come in, contribute, and also play on ELCs. Were you at all surprised that nothing happened on the blue line right now? And are you of the opinion that something does happen in the offseason with that group?
I don't know if I would be. I'm not surprised that nothing happened at the deadline with that group. I think, again, when you look at the direction the Jets have kind of, they went all in on this, and they're not ready at trade deadline to pull their cards out and wave the white flag. So I'm not surprised in any respect. I mean, who would you have come up, right? Would you have Ville Heinola come up, Dylan Sandberg come up? Like, those guys haven't played on the team and in the NHL for a long time. So if you're serious about this stretch run, it's kind of, you got to take the guys that you got to take. And I mean, I think Logan Stanley's been okay the last little while here. And I think we moved on from this debate on anyone, on the farm coming up and taking up one of these guys' places. Just so you have to you're locked in with this group of 6 that they have. And, we'll see what happens. Again, I wouldn't have been surprised if they maybe dealt them. I would have been maybe a little bit surprised if, say, whether it be like a prospect like Ville Heinola got moved or one of the usual 6. But I would have been mostly surprised that Ville Heinola might have been the guy that would have come up and replaced them. It's like, if that's the way you've been feeling, why haven't you done this a while ago? So, but certainly the offseason is a completely different beast. I think something's got to give. The defensive situation on this team has not been good, and whether that's a coaching change, Charlie Huddy's been here for a very long time. I wonder. We talk a lot about coaching situations. Dave Lowry, what's going to happen with that situation? There's lots of moving pieces in this offseason from almost a higher up level. Kevin Cheveldayoff's job included too. I mean, that needs to be reviewed if the Winnipeg Jets don't make the playoffs. I think everything's under a microscope in that case. So, whether that leads to a change in defense, really, I think depends on whether that's a change in leadership and what a new plan would be, or if it's existing leadership, I guess what is their plan with them? I think it'd be more likely maybe to move earlier. So lots of question marks on this team. And although I think the defense certainly could get a shakeup, I think the forwards could get a massive shakeup when we talk about guys like Mark Scheifele and his future. So lots of things to talk about in the offseason, and certainly an exciting 19 games here to see if this team can figure it out. But again, I think anything's on the table come June.
Yeah, I mean, Chevy did make a couple of other smaller moves. I mean, certainly Nathan Beaulieu going over to Pittsburgh as a depth player was, giving him an opportunity to move on, and you get that money off the cap, although he was on LTIR at the time. But maybe the most interesting deal was the trading the rights of Nathan Smith, who was exciting a lot of people, Hobey Baker winner, but became quite clear that, he didn't see the opportunity here in Winnipeg with where he was playing. He'll get plenty of opportunity in Arizona. But moving the Brian Little contract this year doesn't really make any difference. But over the next couple of years, put it this way, the issues that the Jets have had cap-wise dealing with that LTR are taken away. And that should be a positive for the GM in the next couple seasons.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of taking care of a bit of other business that doesn't involve, whether it's future, whether it's building for the future or trying to build for the present here. Nathan Smith's an interesting story. I tweeted out after he was dealt to Arizona as part of that little trade too. I interviewed him a few months ago. Right when news opened that he was picked for the U.S. team in the Olympics when the NHL players were ruled out. Anyways, I just got the gut feeling that he wasn't all that interested in coming to Winnipeg. Now, he said mostly the right things. Certainly said he looks forward to kind of his future with the organization and all that stuff, but wasn't keeping up to tabs on the team, wasn't doing some things that I thought maybe a player who would have been all in or committed to or felt committed to might know or talk about. Like he didn't get into much specifics, and even said I don't have a lot of time to do it, and that's totally true. So that totally could be the case, but like I said, it was just a gut feeling. It happens. Lots of organizations lose out on college guys. That's the situation. That's the rule that's in place now. If you want to wait out, not sign a deal, you have that opportunity. And it's just NCAA careers are a bit longer. A lot of those players too aren't, they're not first round picks. Usually you've got commitment to them and you're following them. They're usually later round picks that blossom in around their early 20s. And if you can get them, great. Andrew Copp would have been considered one of those players, but if you can't get them, then they kind of have the right situation. And I don't even blame him for making that. I mean, his logic is sound. There isn't a lot of, if you want to play center and that's the position you want to fight for, if you're looking at the Jets' current depth and you're looking to come in and not take a few years to crack the top 9, that would be maybe pretty tough for him here. And so I think it's kind of, it makes sense really to look at what teams are, and clearly he must have talked to Arizona. And if you look at them, they probably told him he can get things, he'll have a lot of time to play here and develop.
PP1 this season.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe they've been promised him a banner outside the new arena. So I don't blame him for that, but I certainly see why fans would be disappointed. Like you mentioned, Huss, lots of hype around him, having a great collegiate season, ranked one of those top 10 finalists for the Hobey Baker Award. So a lot to like there. But unfortunately, he's out the door and best of luck in the desert.
Hey, Hammer always brings them out. Great to see how many people with us live on YouTube. By the way, if you're new here, great to have you with us. Do us a favor, hit that red subscribe button. And for everyone in the chat, do us a favor and just hit that red that thumbs up button. Give us a like, helps us spread the stream.